question on everybody's mind lately is what happened to kill the covered wagon. Popular answers include the stagecoach. There's some weight to that. It was more comfortable. It actually had suspension as opposed to no suspension. Another popular answer, perhaps the most popular, is the automobile. There's a lot of weight to that one too. It was very popular, but early on it was very expensive, and people already had the covered wagons and didn't want to get rid of them. But there's something to that too. Going back to the stagecoach, it actually had a form of suspension. It used leather straps at the bottom of the undercarriage to give a sort of flexibility, like modern day springs. This led to more comfort. But the covered wagon wasn't used for comfort, really. That was more of an afterthought. Covered wagon was used to get supplies from point A to point B. Oftentimes, people wouldn't even ride in the wagon. They'd walk alongside it because it had no suspension, and the terrain they were going wasn't paved most of the time. So there's no reason to be sitting in the wagon if it's not going to be comfortable. A lot of the time, most of the people that did travel in the wagon were the young kids, the women, the elderly, the sick. There's no comfort really. It wasn't like the stagecoach that had the actual suspension. It was more rugged, but it should have been more rugged because people were traveling west. They needed something that was going to be able to carry their supplies. They weren't necessarily looking to have extra leather suspension. It wasn't on their minds. They were poor people at the time, so they needed to just get from point A to point B. It was a cheap way to do it. It was covered, so it blocked the sun. They stayed cool relatively in the hot shade if they actually had to travel in it. Another popular reason for the stagecoach is that unlike the wagon, the stagecoach primarily used horses. Horses were more popular at the time to be seen, to have on your wagon. If you had an ox on your wagon or a mule, people would think you were poor. But there was something to say for the elite status of having a horse on a stagecoach as opposed to an ox or a mule on a wagon. The automobile factored in a lot to the eventual demise of the covered wagon, but not a whole lot. Initially, the automobile was extremely expensive. The people with the covered wagons weren't going to be able to afford the automobile. Plus, you already have a covered wagon. You already have a healthy ox. You already have a healthy mule. Why get a car? There aren't many roads to travel on. Where are you going to find a gas station? You got a covered wagon, you got an ox, you can just feed it some corn or whatever, grass in a pasture that comes by. And so that would work for them. They weren't worried about creature comforts or the gas stations, really. They didn't need it. They had everything they needed. And that was one of the dividing points. What actually killed the covered wagon was the invention of the airplane. Because the wagons could fly as high as airplanes could, or as fast. That's the real answer.